The Bimbo Ademoye story that's breaking hearts online. My people have. You work for months on a project. You pour your money into it, your sweat, your sleepless nights. You finally release it to the world, and people love it. The views start climbing. You're thinking, finally, this is paying off. Then one morning, you wake up to an email that changes everything. Your video has been demonetized. Not because you did anything wrong. Not because you violated any rules, but because someone, somewhere, decided to steal what was yours and claim it as theirs. And the system believed them instead of you. Now tell me, how would you feel? Angry, helpless, ready to burn everything down. That's exactly where Bimbo Ademoye found herself. And honestly, watching her break down on social media wasn't just shocking. It was heartbreaking, because this wasn't about clout. This wasn't her trying to trend. This was someone who had been pushed to the edge, and she finally cracked. Let me paint the full picture for you, because this story is deeper than just one actress losing her cool. Bimbo didn't just wake up one day and decide to go off on Instagram. She's been carrying weight that most of us can't even imagine. The exhaustion in her voice, the frustration in her words, it was all so raw. You could hear it. She wasn't performing. She wasn't trying to get sympathy. She was genuinely tired, mentally drained from fighting battles people don't see, physically worn out from the grind of being in an industry that demands perfection while offering very little protection. And financially, well, that's where things get even messier. When you invest heavily into a project and someone else's actions cut off your ability to earn from it, that's not just annoying. That's crushing. That's the kind of thing that makes you question if all the hard work is even worth it. And Bimbo has every right to feel that way, because what happened to her wasn't just unfair. It was straight up theft. Here's what went down. Bimbo made a movie. Not just any movie, but one she clearly put a lot of resources into. If you've seen it, you know it wasn't shot in some random backyard with a phone camera. We're talking luxury bags as props, high-end Lagos locations, professional production quality, the works. And part of that movie was a song, not some random beat she downloaded from the internet. This was a song created specifically for her film. Custom made. The kind of thing you commission because you want your project to have its own identity. She didn't even upload the song publicly to avoid any drama or copyright mess. She kept it within her movie where it belonged, but somehow, some way, someone got their hands on it. They extracted the audio, took that song that didn't belong to them, and uploaded it on Spotify, Apple Music, and all the other streaming platforms. And here's the kicker. They didn't just upload it, they registered it as their own. They put their name on it. They claimed ownership of something they had absolutely no right to. And then, because the system is broken in ways that make you want to scream, YouTube believed them. Now imagine this. Your movie is doing well. People are watching. The algorithm is pushing it. Views are racking up. You're finally about to see some return on your investment. Then boom. Demonetized, not because your content violated anything, not because you used someone else's work, but because someone else stole your work and the platform sided with them. How does that even make sense? You were the first person to use that sound. It was made for you. It exists because of you, but someone else filed a claim and suddenly you're the one being punished. That's what happened to Bimbo. And honestly, I don't know how she didn't lose it sooner, because that kind of injustice, that's the type of thing that keeps you up at night. You start questioning everything. You start wondering if the system is even designed to protect creators or just to protect whoever shouts the loudest. And let's talk about the money for a second, because people often forget that these movies aren't cheap to make. When you see Nollywood films trending on YouTube, it's easy to think the actors are just cashing out left and right. But the reality is way more complicated. Production costs are high. Location fees, costumes, crew salaries, equipment rentals, post-production, marketing, it all adds up fast. Bimbo didn't cut corners on her movie. You can see that in the final product. So when she says she spent serious money, believe her. And when that movie gets demonetized, it's not just about losing future earnings. It's about not being able to recover what you already spent. It's about the possibility of ending up in debt over something that was supposed to be a success. That kind of financial pressure changes people. It makes them desperate. It makes them angry. And yes, sometimes it makes them say things they probably shouldn't say. Which brings us to the part everyone's been talking about. Bimbo made a threat. She said something intense, something that crossed a line. And people jumped on it. Some folks called her out. Others said she went too far. And look, they're not entirely wrong. Threatening anyone isn't okay, no matter how justified your anger feels. But here's what I think a lot of people are missing. That wasn't the voice of someone being reckless. That was the voice of someone who felt cornered. Someone who had tried everything and still got screwed over. Someone who didn't know what else to do. Have you ever been so frustrated, so tired, so fed up that you just exploded, where logic took a back seat and all that emotion just poured out? That's what that was. It wasn't madness. It was pain. And while we can acknowledge that the threat was wrong, we also need to acknowledge what pushed her to that point. Because if we only focus on her reaction and ignore the injustice that caused it, we're missing the whole story. And here's the thing that makes this even worse. This isn't the first time something like this has happened in Nollywood. A few months ago, Sonia Uche went through almost the exact same nightmare. She had a movie that was trending, pulling massive views, doing everything right. Then someone filed a copyright claim over a sound she used, and she had no choice but to pull the entire movie down. All that work, all those views, all that momentum, because of one person's actions. And now it's happening to Bimbo. So this isn't just an isolated incident. This is becoming a pattern. And that's terrifying for creators because it means no matter how careful you are, no matter how much you invest, someone can still come along and ruin everything. The system isn't protecting the people who actually create. It's protecting whoever knows how to manipulate it better. YouTube's copyright system is supposed to help creators. It's supposed to prevent theft and make sure people get credit for their work. But in practice, it's a mess. It's automated. It's easily abused. And it often punishes the wrong people. Bimbo was the first person to use that song. It was created for her movie. There's a clear timeline, clear evidence. And yet, someone else filed a claim and won. How does that happen? Because the system doesn't actually verify who's telling the truth. It just responds to whoever files first or files more aggressively. And that's a massive problem. Creators are left fighting battles they shouldn't have to fight, spending time and energy proving ownership of things they already own. And in the meantime, they lose money, lose momentum, and lose their minds trying to fix something that should never have been broken in the first place. But let's zoom out for a second because there's a bigger conversation here. We see celebrities online and we think they have it all figured out. They're always dressed up, always smiling, always posting wings. And sure, some of that is real, but a lot of it is a front because behind the scenes, they're dealing with the same stress, the same betrayals, the same financial pressures as everyone else. Maybe even more because the stakes are higher and the spotlight is brighter. Bimbo's breakdown reminded us of something we often forget. Fame doesn't shield you from pain. Success doesn't protect you from being taken advantage of. And just because someone looks like they're thriving doesn't mean they're not struggling. Celebrities are human. They cry. They get angry. They feel cheated. They break down. And sometimes, like Bimbo, they reach a point where they can't hold it together anymore. And honestly, that's okay. Because pretending everything is fine when it's not doesn't help anyone. Sonia Uche, after her own experience, posted something that really stuck with people. She talked about resilience, about how life doesn't follow the timelines we set for ourselves, about how you can cry, feel lost, question everything, and still have to get up and keep moving, because quitting won't change the situation. Sitting in the pain won't fix it. The only way forward is through. And that message resonates because it's true. Bimbo is going through hell right now, but she'll come out the other side. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but she will, because that's what survivors do. They adapt, they fight, they find a way. And hopefully, stories like hers will push platforms to fix their broken systems. Hopefully, it will push Nollywood to have better protections for creators. Hopefully, it will remind all of us that behind every screen, there's a real person with real struggle. So here's what we need to take from all this. If you're a creator, protect your work like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Register everything. Document everything. Keep receipts. And if you ever find yourself in a situation like Bimbo's, don't suffer in silence. Speak up. Get legal help. Rally your community, because the system won't fight for you unless you force it to. And if you're just a viewer, someone who enjoys the content these creators put out, show them some grace. Understand that what you see online is only a fraction of what they're dealing with. Support them. Defend them when they're being wronged. And hold platforms accountable when they fail creators. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Need audiences, and audiences need creators. And the only way any of this works is if we protect each other. So let's do better. Let's demand better. And let's make sure stories like Bimbo's lead to real change, not just temporary outrage, because she deserves that. They all do.